This is Hip Hop College Source, your review of what's happening in the community. We about to jam it and see what's going on. Here we go. Hip Hop College Source, your musical, cultural, check on things that happen.
Give me the strength to go further, Lord. Give me the strength to go further.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Hip Hop College Source is here. Your number one knowledge of what is happening in culture. We still working on the particulars. I'm your host, Baruti Carl Alexander. I'd like to come to you. This is kind of a practice show. We come in every Sunday. We're going to talk to you every Sunday about what's happening. Tonight is the night of the Oscars, and a couple of movies that are up for Oscars are Rustin and American Fiction. I don't think either one of them are going to win. The movie I think is going to win is Flowers of the, what is it called? Flowers of the Moon or something like that. It's about the killing of the Indians in South Dakota, trying to take their land, trying to take their oil. I think that's going to win. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio. I'd like to talk. Last week we talked about the Bob Marley movie, which was excellent. I just want to reiterate that. Today I want to talk about American Fiction and Rustin. American Fiction stars Jeffrey Wright, Issa Rae, Erica Alexander, Sterling K. Brown. It is a great cast. It was slow moving, subtle, and trying to say that people look for the most scandalized way of Black people, and that's what they're looking for. That's what they expect, and that is what the public wants. That is what the movie is about. And he was a struggling writer who was doing all these deep and philosophical novels, and they weren't buying. Nobody was buying. But then he came up with a gangster prisoner who was hiding, and he wrote a novel. He called it My Pathos. Then he called it Fuck. And they loved it. And the more eccentric he got with it, the more they loved it. They gave him a $750 advance and then connected movie rights to it. And they were trying to say something. I don't think it's that bad. There's another movie along the same vein I want to mention. That movie is The Magical American, The Magical Negro. That's not the full title. I forgot the full title, but it's talking about our best role is to keep white folks happy. Because if we do that, then we can be happy. And if we don't do that, it's going to cause trouble because we're scaring them and everything else. And that's a real subtle one, too. So both of these movies, American Fiction and The Magical Negro, are both talking about the perception of Black people in others' eyes and how we have to use those things to formulate our behavior. And it's a double-edged sword that Black people do have to learn to navigate, because we are living in a different world than any other community. in America, we live in a different world because we have to live in the black world, we have to live in the white world or the Western culture world. So we have to live in both of those worlds. And that is what both of those movies are touching on. American Fiction, which is a very interesting title, but it's a good title. And, by that title, he's saying that we have to kind of put on a show or act and act a certain way to fulfill expectations, and which is a fiction. But it's a reality too for Black people. So a very interesting movie, and it's nominated for an Academy Award. Now, the other movie is Rustin. If you don't know, it's about Baynard Rustin and basically, he's the one that organized the March on Washington. And he was instrumental in the March on Washington, but he was also serious gay and had previously joined the Communist Party. So those two things affected his ability to be out front. And that's why people may not have heard of him as much, of course, as they heard Dr. King, but Dr. King credited him, and movies like Cora and Betty and Selma and other movies dealing with Dr. King have paid homage to that brother, Baynard Rustin. And he was a serious organizer. Now, what I didn't know was that his history before he met Dr. King and all of those things that he had been able to do in the West Coast and different areas. He was a great singer, but he also got in trouble with a lewd act charge against him that stayed with him and was like a chip or a dark chip on his shoulder. And that always affected him. But at the end of the day, he was able to help Dr. King, NAACP, who did not like him, but A. Philip Randolph, the leader of the Pullman Porters Association of Union Workers, did like him and backed him up and pushed him forward. And it's a very interesting show. So if you don't know about Baynard Rustin, but this presentation, Coleman Domingo, who's becoming a prominent actor, starred as Baynard Rustin. And many people have given him credit, and some have said he's going to take over the Marvel role of Kong, who Jonathan Majors just gave away. And that's a whole nother story and a whole nother show right there. But the Oscars are tonight, maybe starting right now. Best Picture, Flowers of the Killer Moon, I think that's the name of it. That's my choice. I don't think it's going to be Barbie. Best Actor, I think it's going to be Cillian Murphy in that movie, Oppenheimer. Best Actress, I don't know. Best Supporting Actress, I believe that the Black girl in The Holdovers, they say is going to win it. I had never heard of her, never seen the movie, but I am going to go see the movie now. Those are the biggest incidents going on. I'm going to just give another shout out to Bob Marley, One Love, which is past 150 million. It's about number 5 on the all-time biopic movies. Number 2, still surprisingly, is Straight Outta Compton, which went over 300 million and so forth. But Bob Marley movie is a spiritual movie, and that's what a lot of the critics did not get. They showed his struggle and the things he went through, and he tells the story in his songs. Like cornerstone, he's talking about how his white father just threw him aside, didn't want nothing to do with him. And now what you threw away has become a great voice in your name. And Bob Marley's name is bigger than his father's name, which is Marley, and his white father. So he says a lot in his songs, a whole lot in his songs. He had a song called Roots Rock Reggae, which he really tried to penetrate the R&B market in America, I believe. But of course, his most famous songs are Get Up, Stand Up. That was very early in his career. He had to be very, very young when he wrote that. At the most, he was 29 or 30 when he wrote. And for a young man to have that kind of insight to write those words, I mean, listen at these words. Some people think that great God will come from the sky, take away everything, and ask all the people to get high. And if you know what life is worth, you will look for yours on earth. Now you see the light, stand up for you right. Deep, super deep. Everybody knows redemption song. If you don't, go watch the movie. It's at the beginning and at the end of the movie. He is becoming much more prominent. Now, is he more prominent? Has he done more for the all-around music culture than Michael Jackson? I still put Michael Jackson first. I put James Brown second. I put Bob Marley third, and I put Stevie Wonder fourth. Those are my top four Black musicians of all time. And as I've said before, it could change. It could become Stevie Wonder first. Okay, we're going to do a quick review. This is Hip Hop College Source Weekly Review. And on the weekly review, we just talk about the things that we have shared this week, seen this week. And American Fiction, I watched. It's okay. Is it a high? I like Bob Marley better than I like American Fiction, but it's nice and it's subtle. And they're trying to say something just like the Magical Negroes, which I have not seen, but I've heard the premise. So it's an okay movie. I do not believe it's going to win an Academy Award, but it did get nominated. So there you go. Jeffrey Wright is out there doing some great things. He was in Rustin also, starring Coleman Domingo. It's okay, but I like the documentary about Baynard Rustin much better. It gives a more depth, but of course, I'm well versed in my knowledge of Baynard Rustin, Martin Luther King, Ralph Abernathy, and that whole thing. But I learn a little bit every time I watch something in reference to it. And I talked about last week, Genius, MLK, and X, where they share about Bernard Rustin and that also. So it's a whole lot out there. One thing I'm very glad about is that Black heroes are really starting to get their credit and due. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you have had so many representations about them. Baynard Rustin now. You've had so many representations about him that have come about. And it's time that we learn more about our Black heroes. I'm glad they did one on Marcus Garvey. Excuse me, they have not done one on Marcus Garvey, but that should be upcoming. But they did one on Bob Marley. And so that is the trend I would like to continue. So our young people who look at the media, and that's how they learn things, I want them to learn more about the struggle that Black people have been through. You know, go all the way back to Denmark Vesey and those people during slavery times who tried to do a lot. We've heard about Nat Turner, Some have demonized them, some have not. Hey, I'm kind of neutral on that. Hey, when you are trying to subjugate somebody, you can't demonize that person for not wanting to accept that. But young Black people should learn about, of course, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, all of those people who helped to get us to where we are today. And I did get a chance to see Black Las Vegas recently. Sammy Davis Jr. did a great deal, and it was a very powerful thing, aided by Frank Sinatra, of course. He was helped to integrate Las Vegas, him and other artists such as Nat King Cole and so forth. So it's a lot going on out there. Black culture, Black music, Black cinema. That's what we talk about here on Hip Hop College Source Weekly. We'll see you next week. Thank you.